In the last video, we took the planner navigation screen and explained the basics of the screens that are available in this application. In this screen, what we're going to be pointing out is the comparison of what's in here in the navigation and what is actually covered on the main screen on the primary or parent screen within the application. What does that really mean? Well, a parent screen is a screen that can have many child screens in it. For example, all of these items over here are child screens, and they're what are also called popovers. And what a popover is something if you click on it will pop up and provide an input for information. And you're editing or adding information here, and when you do that, there's a portal record which is attached that will add that record information to that portal record. Now, this is a portal, a multi-line input information record where there's a current record that was added and then a blank record below it where you can add additional records. Each time you add a new piece of information in a new row, another record will pop up. That creates another new record in the portal itself. So a portal, which are these screens over here, are screens that are supported in the navigation screens over here. And this is where you can navigate to all the screens, and these are screens that are on this one parent screen, which is shown it here at the top, the wedding couple data. Now, what is the wedding couple data? The wedding couple data in the primary screen, the first thing you do is you add the name of a client or whoever's working with the planning, puts in the information of the wedding. Now, in this case, the Smith and Jones wedding. Now, if you look in the newspaper, most obvious in the marriage and wedding area, you'll see the name of the actual wedding party. In this case, the Smith and Jones wedding is an example record of what is added. In this screen, what we're doing is we're setting up the wedding party for the bride and groom, being the bride here and the groom here. We're putting their names in. We're putting in bride notes and groom notes that are as much information as you want to, generally about what they plan to do with their wedding. It's an overview by each person within the wedding, obviously the bride and groom, to create their needs and assessing what they want from the planner. Now, the planner in this case is a professional that does this as a business. Now, this application can be, and most often would be, a planner doing the process of putting in all the information. But there's nothing to say that it cannot be an individual or a bride and groom couple that are putting in all the information that they want to have and managing all the parts of their wedding to take control of the actual information that's being added and managed within their wedding process. So let's take a look at and see what we're talking about here. Basically, what we're looking at is we have a bride and a groom. The bride and groom information, and in this case it's their address, their city, state or province, their postal code or zip code, the bride's phone number, the bride's cell, in this case in the bride's cell is actually a email address, which it goes in here, and then what they put in there, and the bride's address. In this case, the same thing down at the bottom was the email address, the cell number, the phone number, in this case for the groom, and the zip code and or postal and the state and the city and the actual address. Now, making some selections in here, it was a process of where if you're looking at two different individuals that are the primary people in the wedding party, that they need to have someone where they communicate with that particular person. And in this case, we picked, in some cases you'll see when we're going through the screens, we picked the groom to be collecting the planning cost information, and that's what's going to be done in the actual application. And of course, he will share that with the bride. Interestingly enough, in a lot of cases, the bride is probably the principal communicator to the planner. But in this case, you can pick some of the screens and designate one or the two of these people as the person that is going to collect the paperwork and stuff like that. And you'll see what we mean later. On this screen also is a large view of the little postage stamp here. If you click on it, it pops up and shows the bride, and the same thing for the groom. Now, these are just example photos that were taken from information within Google, just to provide some information to show you what these are used for. Now over on the other side, the first thing you're going to see at the top of the screen is the wedding ID. This wedding ID is an ID that is assigned to this wedding for this couple. Now what does that mean? When you create a new record in this screen by going over and saying new record, add new record, and this is not on every screen and add new record, this is only for primary screens or the parent screens. You click add, it'll add a new blank record in here, and all this data will be emptied out, and that would be for the wedding, for the next wedding. Now in the case of a planner who's actually doing this as a professional, each wedding that they do would have all this set of information and all this information over here that is for this wedding. If you create a new record, you're going to be reproducing all the information for another person's wedding. This is a principal field up here, the one in blue, meaning that you need to fill this in. It's a primary piece of information, and you want to have that in there because this is used throughout the application to identify the couple that we're talking about. Now in some cases, when you click on a field, what's going to happen in this application, it'll pop up the keyboard on an iPad. On the desktop versions and on the cloud versions, this would not be the necessary to have because we don't use a pop-up keyboard. But on the iPad and iPhone, yes, it's a necessity because you can have a keyboard, but not everybody does. You can also use the previous and next information. So for example, if I go next, it's going to go to the next field in line and so forth as it goes down. Each one of these items is going to travel down through where you can add your information by tapping on the next button as you're going through on an iPad or iPhone. Now obviously on a desktop computer, you could use the mouse like I'm using here, and I'm doing this actually as a simulator for the application in Xcode where it was created. And what we're doing here is we're allowing the information to be edited on the desktop so that I can run a tutorial and show you the information. Now one of the next things I want to point out, these popovers, when you tap on them and you're on the application within the iPad or iPhone, it's going to be difficult to tap again. So we have a primary way to get rid of a popover. So if it pops up and it obscures any of these buttons or this area over here, normally all you have to do is tap anywhere on another button or in any area open on the screen to dismiss this. But if you're going through and you're looking at information where it fills the entire screen and almost hides the buttons, always use the bar down here at the bottom. All you have to do is tap on the bar and it'll automatically clear that so you can see the next set of information you want to put in. So that's something you should be aware of. Now each one of these popovers has different information. We'll work our way down through them. The first one is the wedding schedule. The wedding schedule in this case is the event name, the event place, the date, the time, and an alternate or name for the attending. Now in this particular case, what we're doing in this is Margie Smith is the mother of this bride, and we're putting in information, and this is going to be a choice of any item that is in part of the schedule. Now what this really means is each one of these items that are added in here is a principal thing that's going to be occurring in the process and time as this is going by. If you click on a portal record, you'll see that there's also a purpose and a narrative area where you can expand this to add information that is in addition to what are in the fields on the portal itself. So you can pop over here and now you can write in there more information about what this particular task or event is all about. You can also delete a row record by clicking on the delete button here so that you can take that record out of the application. If it was, say, something that shouldn't have been in there and it needed to be taken out, or it was in error and you wanted to redo it, you could go ahead and take it out by clicking on the delete button. To get back to that same screen, we click over here, go back to the wedding, data, couple, record, and now we're back on this screen. Now, the schedule is a series of events that the planner would be setting up initially and taking in that information and putting it in so that it would be sequential in the way it was going to be done, the dates and times, and the location and what is the event about. Now that is a primary thing that needs to be done for a wedding process. It gives a sequence for both the bride and groom and the family and the planner to communicate back and forth to control the information and modify times and dates and people if required. So this is kind of like the key mark of what's going on in the planning process. Obviously, when you're sitting over here, you can narrate some things over here as far as what you want to do. And by the way, you can narrate on the iPad and iPhone by clicking, and then if the actual iPad or iPhone was up, especially the iPhone, you can actually click on the little microphone and actually talk, but you have to add the punctuations as you're doing. Like Mary and I will be at the wedding at 7 o'clock, period. You know, those kinds of things need to be done if you're going to narrate it on the iPhone. Let's go back now. The invitation, the next one is the cost planning, which is going to be a separate, and you can see it's colored differently. We're going to go into this in detail as a separate video. There's the invitation list, and the invitation list is exactly that. You have different individuals that are going to be sent out an invitation, and you're going to want to mark down each one that you're sending an invitation to. You're going to want to know how many people are going to be invited. If they invite with invitation and the invite was sent, how was it sent? Was it sent by an email, a telephone call? Was it a letter? Was it an email? Whatever the way it was done, that should be narrated in here. And if they RSVP'd and confirmed it, or you can add a little bit more information if you need to in there, like in this case, Jim confirmed it, and you might want to say the mother or so-and-so confirmed it, whatever is appropriate. This is the actual people that were invited. In this case, it's one person. If the person's going to be coming, the number of attending is 1. Well, let's say this is a family of 4 and you sent the invitation just to the family, the Franks family in this case, and there are 4 individuals and all 4 of them are going to come. 2 of them are adults and 2 of them are children. Now this helps people that are planning both the seating and any other types of activities that are going on, say for things for children, or certain things are going to happen with adults, and where adults are going to be helped to be maintained information and given information. And if there's something else that's unique about getting information to children, you would know how many children are in this process. If you come down here, you'll have the total number of people attending, you'll have the number of adults and the number of children. This gives you a direct lead in to understanding the full load of all the people who are going to be there, the ones that have confirmed from an invitation and the ones that haven't. And of course, that's going to be marked down here, because in this row, you're telling who's going to attend and how many are they adults or children. And you can see that in this process. The next one is hotel reservations. This is important if you're trying to track people in the family, the wedding family, and the wedding party. You'll want to know where they're located, how to get how to get to them, and also how to contact them, and backup information, for example, what room number they're in, and the information about the actual place where they're going. And you can also use this, if you're the planner, to help set up for people to understand what's available to them near where the ceremony is going to be held, and what the situation is as far as hotels that are available in the area. And this is for this particular wedding. There is a URL here. Looks kind of complex, but it isn't. Basically, it was copied from the URL line on the browser and pasted in here. And if you click on this show website, it will take you to the website for this hotel to give you additional information if you need it. This was copied from that hotel, and it gives you the telephone number and some information about it. There's a toll-free and a toll number, and the location and street, and some information about guest services. So these are another kind of things that are kind of important. And you can also, by tapping on this area, you can add or replace the actual image that's in here. And this was copied by right-clicking on it on the website, copying it, and then pasting it in here, so that people, if you need to, you can send them an image of what the actual place looks like, so that if they drive by, they know what they're looking for. Or they can go to the website. You can send this URL to them in an email, and then they can click on the URL and actually see the hotel that's available. And there's things in here like room rates. And if you're actually, as the planner is helping or the wedding family is doing it, they can put in the arrival dates and depart dates. They can give that to the planner, so all the information is available to the planner. Hotel websites. In this particular case, if you want to add websites, you can click on this little underlined thing here, and it'll take you to a different screen where you can add the information for the hotels. Now, interestingly enough, when you click on this, it'll come up and it'll give you the actual name of the hotel chain or a local hotel. As soon as you put it in there, it will automatically take out the URL or the name of the place and put in the URL, which will bring up the individual hotel. Let's just do that so you can see what happens. I'll click in here, wait for it to come up, and I'll say I want to see the Hyatt. I click in here, I wait a few seconds, and you can see that it's working, and now I'm looking at Hyatt International, and I can go ahead and start looking at Hyatt hotels. I can also go in there and do a general search, and I can go in and find the hotels that are already listed in here to tell which ones are in here. When I clicked on that link, it took me to the actual screen where we're adding the information. So for example, I can go to any hotel chain that's available. I would put in the name of the hotel and where it's located. Then I would take the URL for that particular website for that hotel, copy and paste the URL in here, and then it'll be added to the list down here. You do that by saying add a record and adding this information. It'll automatically fill these fields. If you wanted to edit this for some reason, you could click on it and you can see it'll go through the different ones where you can add and edit it. And you can add your own in here if you wanted, like I added Google search, and I put the URL for Google. Make sure as it shows up here that you need to have http:// in order for these to properly work. Okay, let's go back. Go back to the main screen. Photos. Who doesn't take photos? Lots of people take photos. In this case, the planner has the option to take individual photos that they might have created, maybe they have a photographer that is taking the photos. You can add as many photos in here as you want to that are general about the actual wedding process, either working up to the actual wedding or under the actual wedding itself, and put them in here. And that helps the planner in their own marketing, and also for the actual wedding couple, if they did not get their pictures or they had extra pictures that were available that the planner has, those could be released to the wedding couple if necessary. But this gives you the ability, and again, you can go to the individual portal. Clicking on the individual portal will bring up a larger view of the actual image here that you have. And in this case, you can always go in here and find out if they are actually available in the either iPhone or iPad or wherever you're working with, say a desktop, and then find the actual pictures. And if you know where they're at, you can also do a copy, cut, paste, delete by clicking on it again when you actually are tapping on it on the screen. You can copy it and then paste it into something like an email if you need to. Let's go ahead and click off it. That takes it away. The date of the photo is available. The name, you put your own name in for what this image is. In this case, I just put photo example. Okay, the next ones I'm going to go through are going to be the reception. I'm going to click here. The reception is the table assignments. And basically what you're doing is you can click on this. It'll bring up a list of all the invitation people that you send out invitations to. And all you have to do is click on the name for the person that you want to put into this table. You'd put the main wedding table in the case of the wedding party. And then if you had tables, depending on how they're marked, in the actual reception area or in the rehearsal area, as far as a rehearsal party, you can go ahead and do that. There's a reception table area and a rehearsal, and you can put additional ones if you need to in there and mark them as such as what they are. If there's, say, something like a bachelor party, and there's going to be something in, say, a restaurant or whatever like that, and there was seating, and you want to do meals and stuff for that, it depends on if the planner is going to be required to do that or not. You can create another one for, say, a rehearsal party, or then make it into a table at the bachelor party, for example, or the wedding shower or something like that. You can do whatever you want in these fields. You can get creative as you need to. So if you look at this, you'll see the next one is actually the rehearsal party. Very similar. Click here, brings up all the people from the invitation list, so you can pick off whatever one you want to. Now be aware that the people for all the invitations for all the weddings will be in here. So one set of drop downs can be used for all the people that are in there. And you'll notice that it does mark out here that this is Jerry Smith, this is the Smith and Jones wedding party. And I had a sample record just to show you that it's in there, test record wedding 2, test record wedding 2, just so you can see that there's a different additional information in there. And these fields are set up that if you are looking at this that you can scroll through, and they'll all be in alphabetical order, so it'll be easy to find them as far as a grouping. Now, if you're on a desktop or on the server or on the cloud, typing in the first few letters of the actual person will bring up, say for Jerry, is for example, I wanted all the Jerrys, only the Jerrys would be shown. So that's things that are very helpful as far as speeding and adding information. Okay, you obviously have drop downs that are available. In this case, the table is a write-in, but you have drop downs for calendars. For example, if I click in here, or that's time, we're adding time. But if this were a calendar, then a calendar would drop down and you could add calendar information. Rehearsal notes. In this case, the rehearsal notes can be typed in here, but if you looked in the portal, you'd have a larger area where you'd have a text field with all the information for that information. The wedding location data. This is where you are picking a place or places where things are going to be occurring. For example, the church, the bachelor party, the whatever, all the different places where there's going to be stuff as far as wedding locations. And this is the wedding portal. And you'll have a portal doc thing over here where you click on it that allows you to go in and actually add more narrative in there if you want to. In this case, you could have all the different locations as far as what events are going where, and then backup information within the portal. Wedding meals. Wedding meals is a little unique in that very few people have ever had more information and the ability to use it as they do in this application, where when you're putting in the individual, again, getting it from the invitation list, then you can pick the meal. Now, each wedding's going to have their own set of meal stuff. For example, you're putting in, this is already brought over from the main information where the wedding party would be in here. But if I clicked on the field and brought up the information, I could type in this information, but I don't have to. These yellow fields are in here to show that you can pick any of the meals that you have in here. And these are based on the type of information you put in. Now, you can get very creative in here. And this says meal test 2 meal. If you're going to do something like at the reception or at the say for example this is the reception or a bachelor party and they're actually catering to the thing and there's going to be different meals, you can put a meal type in here and then put the information as far as what type of meal it is. This is more creative. You can create whatever you want in here as how you manage the meals. But when you pick the one, for example, in here, it's going to tell you it's a chicken dish. Now, if you wanted to have, say, something like roast beef, or say it's a bachelor party thing and they have sandwiches, you could have sandwiches in there, and that would be available. And because you're creating records for these items over here, you also have things like this one. The event is for the reception, where you add this. If it were the bachelor party, you'd put the bachelor party, and if it was at the rehearsal dinner, then you would have that in there. Tickets for options for drinks. You can have open bar, you can have tickets, you can have whatever it is. Maybe there's 2 drinks per person, adult or whatever, and you can put those in there and the information for that. And each time you do select the meal, the meal cost including tickets would be this amount here. If the meal encompasses the drinks for an open bar, then you're going to have to pay or put in a second thing for open bar where you're going to put it into your cost in the planning cost area up here as to which you're paying the bar cost from the family that's putting on the wedding. Now let's also look over here and you'll see that there's another thing that's called MID. This is the meal ID. If you click on this, it's going to take you to the portal where you create the meals and add the information as far as what type of meals they are. And the meal ID actually has a numeric number. So that if you're looking at the meal ID, you can add the meal ID into this particular information up here, and that way it'll or just do it here. When you create the meal itself in the meal ID area, the portal, it will add the number for that. That way you can differentiate between this chicken dinner number 1 and say a different event where chicken dinner number 5 is a different one. Or you can even have things, for example, that the information works across multiple weddings where you have a standard cost at a hotel that you go to all the time for chicken dinners, and you can have one that will work for all of them as far as the meal IDs are concerned. So you can get you can look in this and get an idea better by, and we'll cover this right now. The meal ID is basically the wedding that is for, the meal ID, the meal option, and you can narrate it whatever you want in there, and this is for the reception, and then more information about that meal and the meal notes for that. Let's go back over here, back to the record. The next one we want to do is we did the wedding location, rehearsal dinner, the meal photos. Now this is the actual photos of the actual things and some information as far as the actual things that are going to be served and what content is in there. So if you needed to copy and paste this into something, for example, if you wanted to go in there and sweep all this information and then send it to somebody in a email or whatever, as far as what the meal is, you can do that by taking this information and copying it, select it all. First of all, you do a select all, and then you say copy. And if you wanted to paste it somewhere else, you could do it. Or you could share it. In this case, when you say share, it's going to give you an option to go ahead and email it directly from the application to whoever you want to go to. Now, because this is in the application being on the desktop, it's not going to have all the options in here that you would have if you were actually working within the application where you had your contacts and you had the ability to send email on your own email. So you can send this out. Now, that's obviously a benefit too. If, say, for example, somebody says, well, what are the meals and what do they look like? This information can be put right into an email, and you can send it with a picture, and that really adds quality to the invitation or invitation support that people want to ask about. Chicken dinner, a steak, whatever it is that the people are asking about, you could have it in there and then send it directly. Okay, and this obviously is a portal where you can put as many meals or look through the different meals as you want to for this information. Now, being that this is the particular wedding that we're working with, that information is going to be unique to this record. You go to the next record and you create it, you would have to re-put in whatever it is, the location, and the additional information as far as photographs. Now, if you're doing this in, say, like the Hilton Hotel or the Hyatt or somebody like that, there's a very good chance that the meals are going to have pictures that you can take right from their screens, or you can actually ask them to take pictures. And in the future, when you do another thing at the Hyatt or the Hilton or something like that, you would have this information. You can come over here and copy and paste this by clicking a second time and copying, and then copying it and go to the record and then paste it in someplace else where you want it as far as needed. Wedding party. This is the actual wedding party. Groom, bride, groomsmen, the kids with the rings and all that. This is for this wedding where you're going to actually take and pick from the invitation list the people that you want to have in there as far as the people that are going to be doing these particular things as far as what their physical thing is. Now, if you noticed when I was clicking there, you actually have to kind of tap toward the right or left-hand side of this in order to bring up this. And then you have a list of all the people. Now, if you're going to have people that are in the wedding party, you're going to want to add them as invitees separately so that you would have them in this record so you can bring them in as far as putting them into the list of people that are going to be added to this. And there's also, in this case, these underlined things will bring up different screens. In this case, if you click on this, it's going to bring up all the information where you can add a new record and put in your own people for the particular thing. In this case, it's the type of task that you're going to be doing, the person that is in that record. And the other one, there's another one in here. There's type of task. There's a relationship in the party. There's in the cost type, we're talking about things that we're charging for, and item types, which are done in the planning and cost management item up at the top. So let's go back. We're almost done in this screen. This is quite a lot of information. There's also a wedding websites where if you want to go out and look for things that are going to be done as far as the wedding websites, that people want to look and search for things that they're interested in as far as wedding things that are for example, creating media that has to be sent out as far as invitations and so forth, or some things that are related to it. This is similar to the last one where you can click up here, come over and have a list of all the different places that are wedding sites that you may want to go to in that drop-down list. And you go ahead and add them here by going add new record. You put the information up here. They automatically show here. And then you're able to use that information as far as the wedding websites list is concerned. You also have a list of all these where you can see the list of all the different wedding sites that you can go to. Now, some of this stuff is going to be recovered or covered again when we go through the individual screens. This is just a total overview of everything that's in the application. Now, as far as if you're a professional wedding planner, this particular screen is a very important one. If you're selling services where, say for example, you're going to Hilton, and the Hilton's got rentals where they're going to actually set up all the chairs and all that kind of information. You actually have a pictorial that you can add from weddings that you do, or information where they show where it's going to be as far as where this is going to be used. It's going to be on the west lawn, and the information for that. There are how many people are going to be attending, what is the price per person, and then it calculates the total based on these two pieces of information. It'll tell you what the cost is going to be. Now, not all places have a way where you'd say 20 tables or whatever, but that's important to you because you want to know the quantity of actual decorations for tables, for example, or chairs. In this particular case, we're looking down here where the wedding ceremony is being done at a beach site at the Hilton Hotel, and they're going to want to have this area set up for the wedding and then a reception over at another location, and you'd have pictures of it. And once again, if you click in, you can add it from the camera or iPad, wherever you're at. Click again, you can copy it and send it to somebody in a email or whatever, or wherever you require it to be. And in this case, if you look down here, these are put together as far as individual items here, and at the very top of the screen you'll see that it's total as far as the cost for all the items that are done for decorations. And this can include anything, flowers, different things that are, you can show things that are on the table that are separate, that are priced differently, maybe for the individual tables, or maybe for the main party, the wedding party may have things on their tables that are different, and you can show all those individual items. Now, from the professional type of wedding planning, you can show people this database with this information and show them all the things that happen in a typical wedding, so you can have it set up. You will look so professional. You will be, it obviously supports the cost that you charge for your services, and gives you also a good database of information that for the future weddings and your planning, that you're very organized and everything that you're doing is managed to the T, and people really enjoy having that kind of information. And one thing, if you're a planner too, that you may want to do is you may want to purchase this particular application and give it to the wedding party, as far as the groom and bride, with all this stuff in there. And the way you can do this is if you look over here on this Do Action button, which we haven't covered yet. Basically what you can do is you can come down here and you can export the data from the screens, whatever screen you're in. And because there's so much information, you can pick and choose what you want to do. Or you can, if you own this, you can make, say for example, this is a database you have on a PC or a Mac, you can send them the entire database as an item for them with their information in it. Developer support, if you have questions, you click on this, it'll take you to the developer for this application's website, so you can get questions answered. And then the video help is the main screen that we visited when we did our first video, where it has all these videos that tell you how to use the different screens. That's just a repeat of everything that's on the screen. Now, if you have any questions or need support, the best thing to do, like I said, is Do Action and developer support, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Tech support is always free. Thank you.